So, did you hear about that eBay seller who kept getting audited on his taxes? The problem was he kept listing his profits as vintage deductions. So, there's that. I don't even know what that means. If you didn't laugh, it's because it wasn't very funny. But taxes are never very funny. A major change was just made to the tax code for eBay sellers. When you receive a 1099 from a company such as eBay, that is code talk. That's code talk for eBay's going to snitch on you and tell the IRS how much you made that year. In eBay's defense, they have to if you sell over a certain amount of money. Now, the Infernal Revenue Service has over the last few years lowered and lowered that threshold. For instance, used to, you would not get a 1099. You wouldn't be snitched on by eBay if you sold $19,999 worth of stuff in a single year. eBay did not have to report your sales until you hit 20,000 or more. The last few years, that's been dropping. This year, they're raising it back up to 20,000. Therefore, things are happening now when it comes to your sales and your taxes on eBay. As a reseller, you will not get a 1099 from eBay, and neither will the Internal Revenue Service. They won't get one either if your sales in a given year are less than $20,000. Be careful, because if you have 2 or 3 eBay accounts and they're all the same tax ID, like you have an account you sell things in personally, you have an account you sell consignment items in, you have an account you sell family stuff in. I don't know why you'd have multiple accounts. I do, but you shouldn't. But all of those accounts will add up to get your total for the year. So if in each of those accounts you sell $10,000 in each of those 3 accounts, you will be reported to the Infernal Revenue Service as selling $30,000 that year if they all 3 tie to your Social Security or federal ID tax number if you have a business entity. So you can't just open up new selling accounts and stay under the $20,000 sales limit per year for each account. There's something else you need to know. If you sell $1, let's say you're not very smart, and I know all of you are pretty smart. You listen to me. You want to learn something. You want to make a lot of money. I tell you how to do it on eBay. But some people might not be very smart, and they put something up on eBay and charge $1 for it. It sells. That's all they do. The entire year, they only sell $1 worth of stuff. Will eBay send them and the Internal Revenue Service a 1099 snitching that they sold $1 worth of goods that year? Will eBay do that? No. You have to sell $20,000 or more now. Does the reseller need to report that dollar income from eBay? Absolutely yes. Absolutely. That reseller needs to report that $1 gain. How many people would report that as income on eBay? Virtually zero. That doesn't mean it's right. The IRS wants to know every penny income from eBay. If that dollar item also had $4.60 worth of shipping, so they paid $5.60 plus sales tax, so that's another whatever it is, 48 cents or whatever. So the buyer actually had an income for a $1 item of something like $6.15. Now that doesn't include eBay fees or anything. They're taken out of that. The shipping label is taken out of that, but that reseller needs to report their income to the IRS of $6 and whatever it is if they want to stay legal. Do you want to stay legal? Well, you're going to have to decide that. You are breaking the law if you don't report every penny. It doesn't matter the IRS doesn't send you a 1099. A lot of sellers get all caught up on what's the limit this year? How much have we made so far? Do we need to stop selling in order not to trigger a 1099? Well, you can stop a 1099 from triggering now if you sell under $20,000 in a single year, but you don't stop the requirement that you have to report your income. This is all income from eBay. The shipping label, the sales tax, if sales tax were generated for your area, for your sales, and for the item itself. And if you don't report that, you literally are breaking the tax law. You are. You're a scofflaw. How worried should you be by not reporting that? I don't know. Honestly, probably not all that worried. Would I report every penny that I sell on eBay? Absolutely, I will. I have. I always will. I always have. There were many years that I sold less than the $20,000 limit to trigger a 1099. When I was first starting eBay, I sold much less than that. Don't come to me for tax advice. I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a bookkeeper. You need to ask someone who is qualified to give you real answers in that area. But in general, I know for myself that my eBay business is too important to risk by not reporting every penny. If you do something funny on your taxes elsewhere, your IRS could give you an audit, and the worst audit you can get is a net worth audit. There's another name for that. The IRS, they look at all of your inflows to and from your bank and so forth. They look at all of your outflows from your bank and your investments and everything else, and they just do a simple subtraction. And if your reporting for income that year does not have that number, if you report less, then whatever that subtraction is of all of your money inflows minus all of your money outflows, and the IRS knows how to do this very well, very easily, very quickly. They're good at this sort of thing. They're addicted to money. The government wants your money. This is one way they do it flawlessly. If you've got one of these types of audits where they're looking at net inflows and net outflows, you're in trouble probably. They don't go to that extreme unless they really think you're hiding something. Are they going to find your eBay income? Yes. Are they going to ask, where did you report that? Yes. Are you going to have an answer? No. You're going to go, what? I didn't make $20,000 on eBay. They're going to go, we don't care. You're going to go, this was like some old books that I paid retail for and sold them far less than I paid for. They're going to go, we don't care. You still have to report the income. You're going, but I had expenses and shipping and it wasn't all income. And they're going to go, you also have to report the expenses. If you want us to count those, we can't read your mind. We don't know how much shipping cost you. We don't know how much of this was expense related versus profit versus income. They don't know. They don't care. So if you make sales over 20 grand or not, you'd better make sure that you report all of that income and all of your expenses, so you in effect prove you did not make that much money on eBay, even though eBay paid you that much that year. You have to. Now, when I first started eBay in 1999, more than a quarter of a century ago, I reported my income. I did exactly what I'm saying. I reported my income and my expenses, and it was on Schedule, I think, C, which I think is self-employed income, something that you can put your hobby type of businesses like eBay on. By the way, eBay's not a hobby business. It's a business according to the IRS. But I reported that because as I started selling on eBay a long time ago, I started realizing, wow, this is huge. I'm going to make a lifetime of money on eBay. I figured that out pretty quickly. eBay had the keys to the kingdom when it came to bringing in the gold, that I could find things for $1 and sell them for $50. I realized that pretty fast. So am I going to risk that? Was I in it for that first year? No. Was I in it for years, for decades? Yes. I still am in it for the long haul. I don't look at day-to-day, year-to-year activities. I'm in it for the long haul. There's no way I'm going to risk my future income on eBay by doing something stupid. Neither should you. And it's pretty stupid to defraud the IRS, even if you don't know you're doing it. So if you don't get a 1099, you better report your income. I'm just telling you, better do it. Keep track of all your expenses. Ask your accountant how to do all of this. Have all of the deductions that you can have so that you don't have to show a bunch of profit. Maybe you don't show any profit. It depends on what you did, how you made your sales, how good your accountant is, how accurate everything is, how good your records are. You may not even have a profit for eBay, even though you technically have an income on eBay. So it's not like you have to pay taxes on what you sold, whether you get a 1099 or not. It is like you have to pay taxes on what you sold, less all of the expenses it took you to make those sales, whether you get a 1099 or not. I strongly suggest you take me seriously here. And if you don't get a 1099, it's like, don't worry about it. Just assume you're going to tell the IRS the same data that you would tell the IRS if you got a 1099. Talk to your accountant, talk to a CPA, talk to a bookkeeper who knows how to do this sort of thing. Get answers and do it the right way so that you don't lose the opportunity to sell on eBay and make fortunes over the long haul.